Hey, hi friends, welcome to the BSc.IT MSc.IT question and answer series. Myself Guru. So today we are going to talk about structures. So a structures in C sharp. So for that we need to design a structure type using a suitable name for mailing list, which consists of name, door number, street, city and pin code. So for that we need to develop a program which will prompt to input these details and stores them in a structure and display it appropriately. So this was the same question was asked in March 2010 for 8 marks. So if you have any queries or any doubts regarding this session or any doubts in structures, you just do mail me. Feel free to mail me on gurumatrix2004@gmail.com. So let's continue with our session. So my friends, before we get into the question, let's understand structures. So what are structures basically? Let's understand the definition of structures. As a simple one-liner definition, structures are value types. They are value types. They look similar to the classes, but they are very different from classes. So structures can have indexer, constructor, methods, properties, constructor, but still they are very different from classes. Let me tell you how they are different from classes. Let me tell you in point wise. First point, structures are value types, whereas classes are reference types. Structures, since they are value types, second point, they get allocated on the stack, whereas classes, they are reference type, they get allocated on the heap. So in terms of memory consumption also, structures takes less memory if we compare with the classes, whereas classes takes more memory, in a program when it compared to the when we compare that to the structures. If you have two programs, which one is in the structure and another was made in classes using classes, then possibly classes takes more memory because they get allocated on the stack, whereas structures takes less memory. Use structures when you have a small data structures like possibly graph point or small employee data like employee ID. When you have values like employee ID, employee name, employee account number, so and so. Use classes when you have dynamic allocation of the data like array list, when you have dynamic data of data set, list generic collection, array list, arrays. When those will come into the picture, dynamic allocation of data, then possibly use reference types, that is classes. Okay, so as a simple one-liner definition, coming back to the structures now, they are value types. Value types means that is integer, char, boolean, double, all those are value types, and lots more, lots more other data types are there, but these are the primary data types like integer, boolean, char, double, float. All these are known as value types. So now let's go back to our question. Okay, let me also show you the syntax, how to create a structure. A syntax to create a structure, it's pretty simple. Just you need to define a struct keyword and a structure name, any name you can give. Let me give s mailing list. This is my structure name, followed by curly braces, code goes here. Let me again repeat this. To create the structures, we need to use struct keyword followed by structure name, any name we can give here. I just gave struct mailing list, s mailing list, and finally followed by curly braces for the scope of the structure, and inside the scope we can have properties, indexers, constructors, methods, okay, constants or anything. So this is all about the structures. Now let's go back to our question, okay, and let's see. So this is our question, that is we need to design a structures with a suitable name for mailing list which consists of name, door number, street, city and pin code. So let's first create a structure for mailing list which consists of name, door number, street, city and pin code. So to create a structure type we will be using our console application, that is Microsoft Visual Studio console application to create a structure type. So let's open up our Visual Studio 2010. I am using Visual Studio 2010. So this is my Visual Studio 2010 Ultimate Edition. So now let me go to my file to create the console application. So I will go to my file, I will say new, I will say project. So this is the prompt. So my language is Visual C#, as you can see on the right hand side. Language is Visual C#, and my .NET framework is 4.0. So let me just give the nice name. I have selected the console application here. So now let me just give the nice name as demo on structure. I will say okay. Finally my console application will create. So as you can see my friends, the creation of console application has been successful with some default libraries and with the namespace, with the nice namespace, demo structure and a class program. So here inside the scope of this namespace we will be creating a structure. As I told you, a structure starts with the syntax of the structure, it starts with the struct. So we will use struct, and we will say, we will give the structure name, that is mailing list. Now let's go back to our question. So what we need is, we need a name, door number, street, city and pin code. So let's add variables here, private variables, that is private. We need a name first, string name, then we need door number. So for this we can use integer as a data type, private int door number, private street, city and pin code. String street, private string city, and private string pin code. So these are the private variables which we have created, So now the next step is to create the properties for all these private variables, because we cannot expose this private variable to the outside the world. So for that we will be creating properties. Properties helps us to read or write anything from outside the world, or let's say by using the object of structures we can expose our properties, for reading and writing. So for that we create properties. So let's create the properties for all this, private variables, because we want to keep this private variable safe, secure. So that's why we create a properties for. So please remember, use properties when you want to read or write anything from the outside the world, or by using the object of class or a structure, you know. So let's create the properties one by one for all these variables. So I'm going to create let's say public. I'm going to use access modifier as public here, and data type string, similar to the which I have for my private variable name, and a property name. And two methods, that is get and set. If you want to read anything, then we need to write in get. If you want to write anything, we need to code in the set scope. So first we need to read. So let's say name equal to value, and finally return. So first read and then write. So read and write. So if you want to read anything from the properties, you know, then this get method helps, you know, if you just want to read. If you want to write anything, then the set method is useful in the property. So please remember, get and set are useful for reading and writing of a property. So same way we will create the properties for other variables. So let me just copy paste this. Now I'm going to create the property for door number. So that is door number. For a time being, you know, I have already coded this. Let me just copy paste it here. So as you can see, I have created all the properties for all the private variables, that is name, door number, street, city, and pin code. So my friends, we have successfully created our structure mailing list, you know. So let me just build this, just ensure everything is perfect. Yes, the build is succeeded, everything is perfect. So now the next step, you know, so we have created our structure mailing list successfully. Now the next step is to create the object for mailing list. So for that we will go to our main program, that is class program, and inside the static void main we will be creating a object for mailing list, that is obj struct is equal to new mailing list. So now the next step is to reading the values from the command prompt, you know. Let's say from the user inputted data we need to read the values. So for that we need to display some messages. So for a time being, you know, I have already coded this part. Let me just copy paste it here. So as you can see, so by using the console.writeLine, I have displayed the message as please enter the name for mailing list, please enter the door number for mailing list, please enter the street number, city name, and pin code, you know. And after displaying every message, you know, I am just reading the value from the user inputted data by using the console.writeLine. Please remember, console.writeLine is to display the message on the command prompt screen, and whatever the user is inputting the value, that we can read by using the console.readline. So console.readline by default comes in the string format. Okay, if if we are assigning a value to the any integer number, then we need to convert that number, to the integer, like we did here, that is convert to int. So console.writeLine for displaying any message on the screen, and console.readline reading the value, that is reading the inputted value from the command prompt. So we have successfully displayed the message for all our properties, that is for name. So when the user is entering a name, we are just assigning to our property, that is name. So when the user will enter the door number, we have just assigned to our property door number. When the user will enter the street, we have just assigned to our property street. City, same way a pin code. So by using the mailing list object, that is obj struct, we have exposed our properties, that is public properties, and we have just write the values to our properties, whatever the user has been inputted from the command prompt, by using the console.readline. So now the final step, we need to display the output here. So for that, let me just write console.writeLine. So as I told you, if you want to display anything, we need to use console.writeLine in the console application. So display output, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is, so we will use our same property. Here what we did, in this step we have just written the value to the property, and now in our this step, the final step of display output, we will be using the same property to read the value, that is obj struct name. So that's why we always need to use properties if you want to read or write the values from the outside the world, from outside the scope of the structure, or by using any object. So I have displayed successfully everything here. So let me just build this. To build, you can go to the shortcut keyword also, that is F6. You need to just press the F6, that is function key, to build and check everything is perfect or not, you have any error or syntax error or not, just to ensure. So I have built it successfully. Now let me just run this. To run this, you can go to the shortcut keyword, hold the control key and just press F5. So it is asking me for the name. So let's say I will give the name as Quest Pond. Door number, let's say 9. Street number, let's say LBS 60 feet. City is Mumbai. Pin code is 40071. And finally the output is Quest Pond 9 is our door number, LBS 60 feet is our the address, city is Mumbai, finally the pin code is 40017. So this is our output of a mailing list. So by using the structure, we have successfully displayed the output. So by using the object of a structure, you can say or by using the properties, inside the structures, we have successfully read and written the value to the structure. So as you can see, my friends, we have completed this question successfully, that is designing a structure with a suitable name, which consists of name, door number, street, city and pin code, and we have developed the program successfully from taking the input values and displaying it appropriately, so this was the same question was asked in March 2010 for 8 marks. So how to complete this question, let me just show you how to complete this question. So first, possibly how you can start this question. First you can write the overview of the practical, means how you are going to do this practical. So I have written that I am going to do this practical in 7 steps. First I will create the simple console application, then possibly I will create the structure with the suitable name, then creating the properties inside the structure, then creating the object of a structure type in our program, main program, then taking the input values from the user inputted values from the command prompt, I can say, and finally displaying the output value. So this is how I have written the stepwise, the stepwise answer I have written here. Step number 1, creating a simple console C# console application project, and creating the structure, how to create the structure, syntax of the structure with the structure name, creating the properties. First I create as shown, means how to create the private variables, then possibly I have shown the sample of creating a property, that is name. And fourth step number 4 is to create the structure object in our main program, that is inside our static void main, to run the application. So we have created the mailing list object, that is mlist, finally taking the input values from the command prompt, that is this one. By using the console dot write line, we are displaying the message to enter the name of the mailing list, and like we did for other properties also, for door number, for street, city, finally we just displayed the output as a step number 6, as you can see that display output. Finally run the application. Possibly this image you cannot get, but just write the output, by using your own hands. Finally after, when I click on the control plus F5, I got the so and so output. So this is how you should complete your answer, because it is for the 8 marks. You need to write more, you need to write the practical program also, so you need to show a stepwise, like I did here. I just divided my answer into the 7 different steps, from creating simple console application till displaying output, so the same way you can also present your answer in your question paper. If you have any doubts or any queries, regarding this question or regarding this session, you can feel free to mail me on gurumatrix2004@gmail.com. So my friends, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day.